All right, class. So this, disturbing image that you're seeing in front of you is uh, a part of Japanese robotics. I'm not whether or not I'm not sure how much you're familiar with what's going on with the robotics right now, but in Japan there are circumstances where human, where robots that look like humans fulfill basic roles as someone who greets and directs someone in an office or receptionist type job. Obviously they don't do all the functions that a receptionist is capable of, but many of them. But the purpose of this, showing you this robot and this kind of PowerPoint presentation here is to discuss the uncanny valley and in regards to the film Blade Runner and the book we're reading, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And, it's got a definition here for you. The uncanny valley is a hypothesized relationship between the degree of an object's resemblance to a human being and the emotional response to such an object. The concept suggests that, oops, sorry. The concept suggests that humanoid objects, which imperfectly resemble actual human beings, provoke uncanny or strangely familiar feelings of eeriness and revulsion in observers. So that if I don't know if you ever remember, during the 1960s, the comic book The Uncanny X-Men came out, but that was, that comic book was supposed to kind of be critical of the way, of kind of racist, homophobic issues of that time. And that's why, the X-Men were comprised of a racially diverse group of heroes. But the fact that they were mutants and the next evolution of humans made people feel uneasy because they looked like normal humans, but they had powers, so it caused revulsion. If you know anything about X-Men, a lot of humans eventually try to round them up and kill them. So this uncanny, again, is an important definition to understand. Familiar yet eerie and revulsive. Okay. Now it's called and let me continue reading. The valley denotes a dip in the human observer's affinity for the replica, which means how much we like it. Dips, a relation that otherwise increases with the replica's human likeness. So in other words, if you have, and just try to explain this, if you have like a brick, we don't feel a lot of emotion towards a brick. But if you put a pair of googly eyes and, a little funny hat and little feet and hands, kind of like with Mr. Potato Head, all of a sudden, a brick is humorous, it's cute, it's endearing. Somebody might even sell it to you for $5 in Walmart in a box, right? Okay, but then there's a valley where there's a certain area where instead of liking this thing that's trying to have human characteristics or be human, instead we get revulsed by it, we get disgusted by it. But then as it becomes whatever we're looking at, it becomes like almost identical to a human, that revulsion disappears. Okay, so that's the uncanny valley. Okay, so let me continue to read this. Obviously, well, you can read it yourself, okay, but you could just think about the different applications, robots, cartoons, or in a sense, the same thing, dolls, just pretty much everything, anything where something, where a human it can either resemble humans or human behavior, is subject to the uncanny valley. And so this slide is supposed to kind of express that. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this dog, is kind of freaks me out a little bit because it's hard to explain. Like if this was like a cartoon, of this same individual we're looking at in this slide, it wouldn't be so unsettling. And it's not fully human. It looks like almost human, like it's like maybe 92% like a human. And that little bit of difference around the eyes and the mouth, that kind of fakeness and that flatness, makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, right? Okay, so here's like a next slide. Okay, whoops. All right. The god Cthulhu, the god of death. Um, Now this slide here, as well, it may not be to your aesthetic taste. It doesn't fill me with the same sense of eeriness. I may not like the way it looks, or I may really like the way it looks. Oh, cool skulls, or oh, gross, stupid skeletons. But it doesn't fill me with the same level of revulsion as, say, this slide, you know, which is kind of like, a zombie human. Is a little bit more unsettling. It's very human in every appearance. In fact, we know there's a human under there, under that prosthetic makeup and stuff, but it still, makes you feel a little bit uneasy in the back of your mind, right? Okay, sorry. Now, these two, one is real and one is not. Which is the replica and which is the human? You know, neither one of these make me feel uneasy. I think that the guy who's the human is the one on the right and the replica is on the left. I don't know for sure, but neither one of them make me feel uneasy. Like I could easily, drink a beer with either of these guys. Okay. Whereas this next slide, I don't know why I threw this in here, but it's, I don't know. They're both kind of revolting in many ways. But again, for real, the one on the left is, he's kind of a joke. Dr. Venus put in here when he did this slide is, the one on the left, we know there's a human under all that makeup, but it's still kind of revolting. And the one on the right, we know there's a human under that makeup, but it's still kind of revolting. Anyway, sorry. All right. Okay, again, here's an object that's, has human characteristics. There are humans in the painting, but it's like Picasso's Cubist period, and it's not like altogether exactly like a human, but it's as far away to like the brick or Mr. Potato Head with the eyeballs and stuff, that I don't feel unsettled by it. Okay, and that's the kind of, I guess, the issue that we're looking at in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is the issue we see here. At what point, as we're now able to clone, organs for ourselves, and right now, like you saw from the TED Talk, early in the semester, that, they're using, trying to figure out how to use 3D printers to print new organs and stuff. And if you've ever seen the anime Ghost in the Shell, or you've seen the new prosthetics where, your mind literally controls, a hand, a prosthetic hand, and you can think and the fingers move like like normal. As we start to merge with technology, what kind of, what kind of issues does that foretell, and are going to come about? At what point, if we create AI, does that have, or even biological, like a fake, grown in a lab human, a clone, for example, or one that is just engineered, DNA that we grow into a baby or grow into a human in a lab. As as we approach that technology, fundamental questions are going to have to ask about, the morality of that. And what I'm afraid to be true is like what we're going to see in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep or Blade Runner is that increasingly our politicians are going to be driven by corporations, and corporations are going to decide a lot of these boundaries, based on profit. And just for example, Monsanto, a few years back, they're now bought out by Bayer, who created, genetically modified pollen. Was finding that their Roundup and pollen was, of course, killed 90% of our nation's, winged insects that are pollinators, butterflies and bumblebees. So, what is their remedy for this is not to, of course, don't use the harmful Roundup glyphosates that cause cancer and destroy the environment and kill species and all kinds of stuff. But instead, we'll just genetically modify and some bees, and then recently they built a mosquito from the ground up genetically, and grew millions of them in labs and then released them. And the mosquitoes are supposed to be Zika and malaria proof and trying to eliminate those viruses. And the crazy thing about it is one of their former employees, or several of their former employees, ended up in politics. For instance, Judge Clarence Thomas was a lawyer of theirs, and while he was on the Supreme Court, still consulted with them, and he was the final decision on whether or not you could patent genetically modified life. So technically, if it were legal in this country to clone or grow a human, or that human would belong to a corporation. And it's interesting that Philip K. Dick kind of foresaw this type of potential, and that's going to be issues that we're going to have to deal with perhaps one day in the future, if we survive climate change, is this very issue we're looking at on the screen. What is it to be human? Who is a human? If you have a clone grown for you to harvest the body parts, what is its rights? What at what point will technology of the computer merge with biological technology? The human brain, or any brain really, is a mega computer. At what point will we learn to make more and more of our technology organic? And what will be the consequences of that? So this is just what I wanted to talk to you about. When you see the terms uncanny in the essays, pertaining to Blade Runner and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and some of the central issues in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep are about this idea, this idea of the uncanniness, and what it is to be human. And even if something's not human, does it have humanity? And even if you are human and you lose your humanity, are you still human? Or are you just like a meat puppet? Or, these types of concepts. So anyways,